How's it going? Today I'm going to talk about how the vegan diet can be used to heal your eczema. Now there are some pros and there are some cons, and in some cases it can be the best diet out there for you, and in some other cases it can be the worst. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Harry, and I've been healing my eczema on and off now for about 3 or 4 years properly. I'm healing from a recent flare that I had at the very beginning of 2025, and I've gone up and down due to some stress and some external environments that were out of my control. And we're on the mend, we're getting there. But what I really wanted to talk about was the vegan diet and my experience with it. And because I know there's a hot topic out there and it's seen as a go-to to heal eczema, but it's really not that simple. There's a lot of nuances to it, and it's possibly not for everybody. This video isn't going to be advice. I think the vegan diet is so broad, right? There's food from grains to oils to the whole spectrum of fruit and vegetables. Things like soy and corn, sugar is vegan, so much food. And the vegan diet, vegan as a whole term, means so many foods. And when you try and put that into an eczema diet, that is really quite different to just a whole broad vegan diet. And then on top of that, specifying that to individual people is, can be good or can be bad as well. So I'm not going to give this as advice. I'm just going to talk to you about the vegan diet that I have followed in the past, how it affected my eczema, and yeah, we'll take it from there. So I have used a vegan diet over the years to heal my eczema. It's not what I'm using at the moment, but when I have mainly used it was when I initially started looking at diet for my eczema. So this is very early stages of me in my eczema healing journey. And that vegan diet looks very different to how I've used it across the years, and I'm not on vegan anymore because it wasn't working for me. So I thought long and hard about looking at my diet and going vegan before I did it. I didn't know too much about eczema diets. There wasn't a whole lot out there. There were a couple of books, but there was like nothing on YouTube. There was nothing online. It's something that's really been developed in the last maybe 6 or 7 years, and is a bit more widely accepted and available. So I thought about it for a long time, and I decided to jump in with both feet. So the vegan diet that I was on for 4 weeks was only fruit and vegetables, no grains. I was doing a tiny bit of oil, but not much at all. Obviously, no animal products, no yogurt, no meat, no eggs. And I was not having any grains either. So no bread, no rice, no quinoa, none of that. So all I was having was fruit and veg. And I was having some pulses. I would have some lentils, no other beans, but I was having lentils. Not loads, as I say, mainly traditional fruit and veg. And what can I say? It was phenomenal. I had never felt so good in my entire life. The very first thing that I noticed when I would change from my standard diet, which I thought was quite healthy at the time, well, it was quite healthy at the time, was that my digestion just went up to there. It was so good. My stomach was just completely flat. My bowel movements were regular, and I didn't think I was particularly irregular or bloated, but knowing what I could be made me realize that, oh, okay, diet is actually affecting me, my body, not necessarily my eczema. I haven't even got to that yet, but it was affecting my body and my digestion. And so I thought, okay, let's continue with this. The next thing I noticed was that my sleep was so good, so good. I would come home, have my dinner, and I would be falling asleep within a couple hours. Bed at 10 and up at about 7, which is way more sleep than I was getting at the time. Probably about 2.5 hours extra sleep. And I was able to actually fall asleep. That was the biggest impact. When I am inflamed, And when I listen to my body, and when I know that I'm not eating something particularly that I should have done, often I find it hard to go to sleep. I realize that now because of this experience of having my gut in such a good place that when I was tired, I would lie down and I'd fall asleep just like that. So that was a really, really big indication that I was on a good path. And then obviously what goes hand in hand with all this extra sleep I'm getting is healing. So my body was having more time sleeping and repairing. And, long story short, within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, my eczema was completely gone. Now I had eczema on my neck and my chest. I had it on my arms. I had a really big patch on like the outside of my arm here. That was the main part, probably about the size of my arm. The size of my arm? Size of my hand. It was something else, and that healed. I also had some on my wrist, which was really clear. That's how I used as a good indication. So here was it at the beginning, and about 3 weeks later, this is it then, and you can see it's totally gone. So I was probably having around about 15 different fruit or veg a day. I was trying to be as diverse as possible. I was having mainly vegetables, not much fruit. My fruit was usually a bowl of fruit after my evening meal, mainly berries, but yeah, mainly vegetables. And something else that I was quite strict on is that all my vegetables were boiled or steamed. Nothing was cooked in the oven, nothing was like charred or black or anything like that. So no color, it was just steamed vegetables. And I think that is the easiest way to digest food. I would recommend that to anyone with eczema. Salads can be trickier or more difficult to, in fact, you know what, take that back. Salads and raw foods are more difficult for your gut to digest. Cooked foods are way easier. You will notice that your digestion is much better if you cook your food rather than having it raw. I have done stretches where I was doing a raw till 4 hype, because I thought that was more like natural way to eat, or more diverse way to eat. And I always found improvements when I came off that and started having cooked foods or leftovers for my lunch rather than salads which I was preparing. A good way of knowing if you're getting a varied spectrum of fruit and veg is so that you're having lots of different colors. So having butternut squash, beetroot, cauliflower, your greens, get as many different colors as you can, and that is a good sort of indication that you're eating a broad variety of foods. Would I recommend it? I said at the beginning of the video that I wouldn't, but I would say that if you're going to do it for a week, maybe 10 days, I would recommend it. I did lose a little bit of weight on this diet, but doing it for 2 weeks maybe, or a little bit less, that's absolutely fine. I think using it sparingly or using it as a sort of jolt to the system, a cleanse. I hate that word cleanse because it's used so much and no one has any idea what's going on inside their bodies really. Even the doctors. I'm sorry, if you are on YouTube and you're wearing a white coat with a stethoscope around your neck, like that is just so bait. I see so many hundreds of thousands of clicks on those videos, and these doctors, they don't have eczema. They've just got no idea what it's like to have it, to react to it. They're just it winds me up. I find what's much more useful is listening to people who have eczema, sharing their experiences, pros and cons, and everyone's different and it's not going to apply to everyone, but it helps paint a picture rather than someone saying, oh, have you dusted your house? That's giving you eczema. It's just, anyway, sorry, sidetracked, back to it. So just to conclude, this isn't really a strong recommendation, but it's food for thought. I think eating more vegetables really helped me for a short period of time to sort out my gut, which allowed me to sleep more, which allowed me to heal my eczema more. And it definitely, was a real shot in the arm and helped me heal my eczema in a really short space of time. Now, no two people are going to go away and do a vegan diet exactly the same. So That's why I say do it for a short period of time if you are going to do it, and then look into getting proper whole foods into your diet so you're not missing out on any nutrients. So as I say, after 3 weeks, 4 weeks, my eczema was completely healed, and I had never felt so good. I thought I'd absolutely cracked it. Like, I'd had eczema on and off for about 10 years in like really small patches that didn't really bother me at all until I had this really big explosion. But I thought, simple. I have literally just done this and it's perfect. So I continued on that same diet and I felt good, but I did not feel great forever. And eventually my eczema did come back. And that's for a whole different host of reasons, which I'm going to talk about in the next video. This one's just all about how it made me feel when I was on it and how I used it to heal. And it did heal, it absolutely did.